up, guys? Welcome back to Zilla MMA. I am your host, as always, the Zilla. First off, I want to thank you guys for coming, watching this video. It's our first recap of 2024, so if this is your first time here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. If you're not already subscribed, please go subscribe now. We're really trying to build the subscriber count this year. Really encourages me when we have these viewers to get these videos out quicker. This is something I want to start doing more too, having recap videos out the night of. I think that's when they're really most effective, when you guys can really get the information. You're looking for other people's opinions while you're digesting what happened in the fight. So this is the way I like to do it. This is what I'm going to try and do a little more going forward. Obviously, the later cards, it's a little difficult to get it done, but ones like this where we get done kind of early, I definitely want to get these out. But appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, please go like, subscribe. Go down in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the first card of 2024. You know, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're hoping to come out of it. I really like hearing the feedback from you guys. Getting into this card, we'll actually go ahead. We'll start at yesterday at weigh-ins, because there's one key thing that was missing from this card that we were all looking forward to. And I'll go ahead and start with that, and that's Kape versus Nicolau. Kape obviously misses weight by 3.5 pounds. And I went on Twitter, talked about this a little bit. It is obviously Kape's fault for missing weight. It's obvious. And he would lose half his purse, the fight would go on, and Kape would be the one who ultimately pays the price for that. Even if Kape goes out and wins that fight, it's going to be very difficult after missing weight twice to get Dana White to want to have you headline a card or be another co-main on a card fighting for the title in a spot where you don't have that half pound of or the full pound of lenience. You have to be on weight when he's not even really getting close. Like, it's going to be hard to get Dana White to give you any kind of title shot. It would have been a direct injury to the career of Kape. So that being said, the fight initially, all reports were the fight was still on. And it comes out shortly after the fight is now off. It seems that Nicolau has rejected the fight. He is not going to accept half the purse. He is not going to go on with the fight. And in my opinion, rightfully so, Nicolau has been catching a lot of heat on Twitter for not taking the fight. And here's my reasoning. I understand going in against an opponent who's overweight, it's not the ideal situation. You're in a weight class where you know that there are people within the MMA community actively working to get rid of it. Dana White's not crazy about that weight class to begin with. You know this. You have Albazi who just backed out the day before. Another one of the top guys in that division is not going to be available. And it's already just difficult. These top tier guys, the guys who are making this weight class entertaining, the guys who are making us advocate to keep 125, when they pull stunts like this, when Nicolau doesn't want to fight, now he's just as much in the doghouse as Kape. And in my opinion, what he's done is a detriment to the entire weight class, unlike Kape, who was a detriment to himself individually. And so it's a bad look for both fighters, in my opinion. I think it's definitely going to hinder their growth in this weight class. And so, very unfortunate situation. That fight falls off the card. Was really probably the fight I was looking forward to most on the card. But we still have a solid card overall. I really enjoyed it. I think things went pretty well. From an entertainment standpoint. From a gambling standpoint, obviously not our best night. And looking at other people who do these analysis, it's kind of across the board. Some people struggled. A couple key spots we missed in. 7-4 overall, which may sound okay if you're a gambler, but in the MMA world where you're betting pretty heavy favorites, it's just not going to cut it. It's not good enough, especially with a few of those being relatively large favorites. Missed on both our dog spots, missed on both our parlays. And then prize picks, we obviously had Kape fall off. Have a couple really close calls with a couple of them, but it ended up going 1-3 on those. So just top to bottom, not great betting wise. And we'll break down why that's the case as we get through this. But we had a pretty good end of last year, so not stressing too hard about it. And I think next week's going to be really a spot where we can hit it hard and recover everything we lost and more. So very excited for that. But we'll go ahead and get into the breakdown of this card. First one, obviously, this main event at light heavyweight between Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. Ankalaev able to get the win here by knockout, as we predicted. I actually predicted a round 3 knockout. We got a round 2 knockout. Not as much wrestling from Ankalaev as I had expected. Very measured fight from him. Walker obviously trying to do a bunch of the wild stuff he does early in this fight. Not able to really land anything that's too detrimental. And Ankalaev just plays smart, picks his spots, throws some impactful strikes, and ends up getting the hard shot to Johnny Walker. Looks like he shattered his nose. Really good stoppage to prevent Ankalaev from having to do extra damage to him, and gets the win. And now, in my opinion, you have to think Ankalaev is in the driver's seat to be next up for the title here. I know Dana White might not love that. I know he really didn't like his fight with Blachowicz, and that he may not want to promote him in the division, but I think he deserves it. I'm not exactly sure what Ferreira is doing at this point. If you saw my prediction videos for 2024, it would be that Ferreira moves up to heavyweight, and we have something like Jamal Hill versus Ankalaev here for a vacant title. Not sure if that's exactly what's going to happen, but Ankalaev definitely seems ready. He's right there. So good for him. One that we were able to get right, and we'll go ahead and move on from this one. And then Jim Miller, he keeps doing it. I mean, just a great all-around performance from him. Great striking, great grappling. Just ends up getting the submission victory. But he was dominant the whole way through. Did a lot of damage with that inside leg kick he was pumping out all night. So great for Jim Miller here. I mean, just at his age to be able to do what he's doing. Just so impressive. Really happy for the guy. Watched a little bit of the post show. Saw he was on there talking about getting ready for UFC 300. Obviously made the call out on the mic for Felder, which would be an awesome fight. I really don't know who he's going to get at UFC 300, but I think it's, outside of some terrible circumstances with an injury or something, I anticipate he's going to be on that card. So very exciting for all of us. Very happy for him, and a great victory here. This was one of the big spots that we missed on tonight, and I can admit when I am wrong. That this is one where I really don't feel like my analysis was accurate, and it's not a detriment to Ricky Simón. I underestimated Mario Bautista. I underestimated the caliber of talent that he'd been fighting against. I think I held it against him that he had some pretty easy fights. He came out here just striking so well, used that length effectively. Simón had some good moments. He was able to pump the jab, was able to land a couple of takedowns, but it turns out just that performance against Blackshear was just maybe him having to go against a grappler on short notice. It's not an accurate display of his skill set. Bautista did a very good job preventing the takedowns in this fight, and ultimately it kind of just shut down Ricky pretty much from the jump. We anticipated he might be able to stop the takedown to some degree, but Ricky, kept pressing it forward, kept going for it, and we see Ricky being the one who gasses a little bit here, but Bautista just keeps coming forward, keeps striking, preventing the takedowns, almost mixing in some takedowns of his own, which was really impressive. At this point, for me, my eyes are opened up about him as a fighter, more so than they already were. I had respect for him. I just thought this may be a step too far. Clearly not, and the sky's the limit for him at this point. Very interesting weight class, obviously, but a great fight here from both guys. I still, going into this fight, I said I don't want to look at what happened with Song Yadong as a detriment to Ricky, and I really don't want to take this too far in saying, that he's fallen off or anything. I think he might just be running into some really elite talent right now. So we will see, but great for Mario Bautista here. Got to give him all the credit in the world for this one. Moving on, we have the Ferreira versus Hawes fight. We had a little flyer on Hawes here at inside the distance. Um, kind of anticipated this would be a pretty quick fight. It doesn't go our way. On Prize Picks, we had this at under 4 minutes. Let's see, it was under 4.75 minutes, so under 4 minutes 45 seconds. This goes 4 minutes 55 seconds. It's a killer. Uh, really sucks, but it is what it is. Wasn't too high on either of these fighters to begin with, but good for Ferreira to go get this win. Unfortunate for us, we were on the wrong side on this one. Moving into this one, a little surprising, but not as surprising as some people are acting like it is. I said before this I wasn't all that high on Waldo. Thought he should go out, get this win. Arlovski's about to be 45 years old. But he showed he's an experienced fighter. He had solid defense. He was able to land some shots of his own. He just never really let Waldo land that really big strike. I mean, he's got all the power in the world. Was throwing it all night at Arlovski, but never really had a chance to land it clean. And because of that, was not able to get him out of there. We end up having to go to a decision here, which is not something many people anticipate with two heavyweights like this. But, that's what happened. Again, we have to be nearing the end for Arlovski here. Just at this age, you can't take anything away from his career at all. But, yeah, we're just reaching a point where it probably needs to be close to the end. And then a lot to build on here, I guess, for Waldo. Yeah, I don't think that's a good enough performance to compete with the high-level heavyweights in the UFC. So hopefully he learns from this and develops into a better fighter. We did have this, mixed in with you could have potentially had this mixed in with some parlays. This was another one we had on our Prize Picks, where we really needed Waldo to get the finish to get to his fantasy score. He did not do that. So lets us down there. But again, hopefully he learns from this and is able to grow as a fighter and be able to compete in the higher levels of the heavyweight division. Moving on to this next one, Preston Parsons versus Matthew Semmelsberger. And I think that's just going to have to be it for Semi, for me at least. Might continue in the UFC. Not sure what his path is going to be here. But yeah, I just... The paths to victory for Semi are getting difficult for me to see. He's not throwing volume. He has some power in his hands, but with a guy like Parsons, where he's closing the distance and staying in close with him, he doesn't really have a chance to let it go. Parsons able to grapple with him and control this for most of the fight. Has the more impactful striking as well. Semmelsberger almost content to make this a grappling match. He gets in there. He starts trying to do some wrestling of his own. Just not an effective game plan, in my opinion. And so Parsons goes out and gets this one. We take the loss here. Very unfortunate. I kind of thought Semmelsberger, that this was some of the worst he's looked to me, personally. So very unfortunate, but good for Preston Parsons to go out there and get the win in this spot. Then we have the Marcus McGhee, Gaston Bolanos fight. Marcus McGhee able to go out there, get the knockout win for us, and just really impressed from him. He's got great striking, was able to mix in the wrestling effectively, just developing into a better fighter than I ever really thought he would be. And so, a lot to like with him going forward. Don't know what to expect from Bolanos. Don't know what his future is here, but McGhee might really have a future here. He's just a really well-rounded fighter, just really heavy hands, good striking, and again, the wrestling he has to go along with that is really impressive to me. So, good for McGhee to go out, get us the win in this spot. Then we have Basharat versus Lapilus. Basharat just able to go out there and do what we needed him to do. He uses that wrestling effectively, and it did go how we thought it would. Lapilus has pretty solid takedown defense and was able to prevent it for a good portion of the fight. But Basharat is just relentless, just stayed on him. Great gas tank, has some good striking to mix in there as well, but really that wrestling where he's just constantly coming after you, constantly trying to get you on the ground. And while Lapilus is doing a great job preventing it for a lot of the fight, you can only play that defense for so long when this guy just doesn't seem to be running out of gas. So, really impressive from Basharat. A guy obviously we're going to keep our eyes on going forward. Stays undefeated, comes to 12-0 now. Again, not a bad performance from Lapilus. I don't think this is, the end for him. Definitely some learning to do from this, but again, had pretty solid takedown defense for a lot of the fight, but Basharat just absolutely relentless. So good for him to get the win for us there. This one went about as everyone expected. Jean Silva versus Weston Wilson. Weston Wilson, as most people were saying all week, just doesn't really seem to belong here. Just one of the most hittable guys I've ever seen. Just no challenge at all here for Silva. Just able to land pretty much anything he wanted to. There's some physical aspects of Wilson where he should be a better fighter than he is. He has a lot of length. His striking looked a little better out there, I guess, this time than his last fight, but still just not impactful. It looked like Silva could walk through the little bit that Wilson was able to land, and when pretty much anything it seemed Silva threw landed. So very tough look for Wilson. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions with Silva here. Obviously, this looked good, but who are you fighting? So, we'll see what happens going forward, but a guy to keep an eye on for sure. And then we have this one is right there for with the Ricky Simone fight for the most difficult one to swallow for us. This obviously one of my more confident fights, and that was Tom Nolan, who gets knocked out very early in the first round. And we saw some of the stuff from Motta that we have been saying, where is this for a while now? We know he has some impressive striking. We know he can go out there and have some knockout power, but we just haven't seen him really be able to use it effectively. In retrospect, Nolan, just a really green fighter. He can come back from this for sure, but very green. And came in there. I had a little too much confidence in him being as young as he is, and I might have put down Motta a little too much for his recent difficulties. But he definitely has the hands to do this at any time, so good for him. I think he was kind of competing for his UFC career here, so glad he was able to go out and get this done. We will most likely see him again. And then Joshua Van does what he does. Pretty much the same as his last fight. Comes out a little slow in that first round. Throwing his strikes, but it looks like Felipe Bunes is kind of getting the better of him a little bit in that first round. And then he just starts coming on as the second round goes on. His striking gets better. He's going to the body. He's mixing in those kicks. He's just doing so much damage, throwing so much. This is the one of the 4 prize picks we hit, and that's the significant strikes from Van. Just able to really get better as the fight goes on. Really impressive performance from him. I've been saying a guy for us to watch for a while now, and he again goes out and shows you why I've been saying that. He's a really impressive fighter, so great performance from him. Loved everything I saw, and look forward to seeing more from him in the near future. But that does it for this card, guys. One last thing I'm going to throw in. We do have some updates to our Zilla's Heroes and Zeros, so going to go ahead and pull that up here on the screen. Added 2 from tonight and went ahead and updated it with the couple on the graphic from the last couple cards that we had not put on there yet. And we've got a new hero and a new zero tonight. Our new hero is going to be Ankalaev. Great performance here in my opinion. I think he's next up at 205. I've been preaching it for a while. Talked about it on my 2024 prediction videos. I think he's going to be a champion before the end of the year. Going to be a lot to evaluate if he has to go through Pereira. Everyone knows I'm very high on Pereira as well. So will be a lot to evaluate if that ends up being the fight. But anyone else, pretty much in the division, I favor Ankalaev as of right now. And then in the zeros, we're going to have to put Semmelsberger. I've backed him quite a lot in his career in the UFC, and I think this is just it for me. I don't know what his UFC career is looking like going forward from here. I don't know if he has one, but I can't see myself backing him anymore. Just struggles to do anything effectively well to me outside of having the power in his hands. And even that he doesn't use effectively. He lets fighters back into fights, and it's just not someone I feel comfortable backing, not someone I really want my money behind. So he is going to go into Zilla's zeros. But that will do it for that, guys. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. Like I said, I'm going to start trying to get these out a little earlier. I know this is the preferable way to view these. Again, please go subscribe. Big goal of 2024 is to get that subscriber count up. So, if you guys are watching this, please go subscribe to the channel. Obviously, next week we've got the big title fight coming up, Strickland versus Duplessis, one I'm really been waiting on. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, nothing's going to change in this. We are backing Duplessis on this card. I think it's going to get a lot closer to even. We had Duplessis at plus money on my book this morning. I believe he was sitting around plus 120. Go grab it now because I think the line's only going to get worse as the week goes on. Duplessis is going to be a guy we are backing heavy. So, again, thank you guys. Look forward to talking to you about those fights. And until next time, see ya.